host of the Dallas Housing Coalition's webinar series, Housing for All. I'm also the Senior Manager of Community Development at Charles Schwab Bank and a board member of the Dallas Housing Coalition. Thanks for joining us this morning on a special day and time. You'll normally catch us on Fridays at 11, but with summer vacations in full swing, we're coming at you today on Thursday. Today, we're holding another installment of our Housing for All series, where we discuss whether Dallas is big and if it is truly big enough for everyone. During our webinars, we have brief but impactful one-on-one conversations with Dallas Housing Coalition members and community leaders who are the strongest advocates for keeping the city affordable. Joining us this morning is Katie Smith. Katie graduated from SMU with an MBA in real estate finance in 2022. Since then, he has worked with several development firms and is currently employed at Hunt Realty Investments as a real estate analyst. Hunt Realty Investments has been a central real estate management company in Dallas for over 45 years. They strive to identify and convert undervalued real estate assets and enterprises into seasoned or repositioned properties. Thanks so much for joining me, Katie.
Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Well, we will just go ahead and get launched into our conversation. And I'm just wondering, for those of us joining today who are just getting to know you better, I'm wondering if you can share what sparked your personal interest in affordable housing and why you've become so passionate with addressing the issue.
Thanks for asking. Such a great question. So originally, it was not on my radar, so I can't say I always knew this is a realm that I wanted to involve myself in. I didn't necessarily know about it while I was studying at SMU, but I do recall there being a career day at SMU while I was studying for my MBA. I met a gentleman who I'm still very close friends with today, who was there sitting down. Uh, I joined his table, started to talk to him a little bit. He was at the largest affordable housing development organization in the United States, Dominium. And he started talking to me about what they did, how they were in affordable housing, and how they have impact. And I was like, okay, that sounds awesome. But I'm studying real estate finance. I really want to make some money. I'm not sure if I want to get into um, nonprofit development right now. And he kind of chuckled, laughed it off, and was reassuring to let me know. He said, "We do well by doing well, and we are 100% a for-profit organization." So my ears perked up. I stayed in contact. Asked him if he'd be interested in helping get my resume over to the executives on his team. He did. He followed up, and long story short, I ended up interning for half a year at Dominium and getting to see how they really did things within the organization. And it is no doubt that they are, you know, very talented team, very talented organization. Using low-income housing tax credits, they've been the most effective in the United States at doing so. So I was able to pick up a lot of things from them. And for me, a lot of it was hitting home. I'm local, so I've seen a lot of the naturally occurring affordable housing. I grew up in Northeast Dallas, so I've always seen it, been around it, didn't know what to call it, but I knew it was there. So it all kind of came back to a head and made it an interesting field for me to look into. And like I mentioned, it wasn't on my radar, but it's been something that I've grown to kind of geek out, nerd out about. It's something that I definitely want to spend my talent and time hoping to solve on a local level. The things that a firm like Dominion was doing on a national level.
That's fantastic. So it sounds like you already kind of had an interest in you for affordable housing, but that chance encounter with a colleague from Dominion really
Yeah.
got your motors turning, it sounds like.
Yes, that's extremely true. I did not, like I said, it wasn't on my radar. But
Hmm.
I thought it was, like anybody else would, thinking it was, nonprofit organization work, which is nothing wrong with that, but didn't know that it could be a viable investment either.
That's great. Well, it's so good to hear that. And kind of now that the passion is sparked, it's very much there and alive within you. I'm wondering if you can share what sorts of strategies does Hunt Realty Investments employ to identify undervalued real estate assets in the realm of affordable or workforce housing. We don't talk about what we mean by workforce housing. I think this is going to be one of the first times
Hmm.
I've actually mentioned that as a particular thing, if you will.
Hmm.
So if you could tell us what we mean by workforce housing first, and then back into the questions by sharing specific strategies that Hunt Realty Investment uses to identify affordable and workforce housing, that would be great.
Perfect. Yeah, I could start by kind of defining what we see as workforce housing. There's various spectrums when you call it affordable housing. You have your capital A affordable, anywhere from 30% of the area median income, uh, you know, no more than 30% of that person's income could be used for rental expenses, up into 80%. 80% is where, we kind of define that as lowercase a level affordability, workforce housing for that missing middle, think essential workers, think government employees, think, you know, whatever, firemen, whatever local essential workers essentially is what we identify as affordable, lowercase affordable workforce housing. Um, that being said, when we think of strategy, I think when I was brought on, I had a conversation with a few of our leaders on the team, and what they let me know is that, number one, we've identified this problem. Dallas is home. This organization's been involved with Dallas since, a very long time. When you think about the Reunion asset itself, this is something that was purchased by the family in the early 70s,
Mhm,
as one of the first public-private partnerships in the city of Dallas.
mhm,
So one, being able to identify that this city has an issue, that there is a housing affordability crisis, there is a housing shortage, and number two is part of the reason I was able to join the team was we need to develop a strategy to address such, right? We have three big projects going on now. We have North End, which is um, in Dallas, where we'll have the Goldman Sachs regional office.
mhm,
We have our Frisco Fields project, and we have Reunion. Reunion is a unique opportunity as it poses for the most effective way of addressing affordability issues in the city of Dallas. We have, uh, large parcels of unused,
mhm,
undervalued, unrealized assets here that could be
mhm,
used to help solve the city's issues. Um, and I think our master plan holds that we can produce 5,000 units. Instead of just doing a drop in the bucket, leaving 10% of those units to be affordable, we have a big, hairy, audacious goal of, half of those being affordable on some form of spectrum, right? Whether that's workforce, lowercase a, or uh, any other various forms of mixed income product that we can deliver. So I think step one of the strategy was to identify the issue. Step two is utilize our assets that we currently hold to
mhm.
address the problem. So stepping in there, doing something, and working hand in foot with our city of Dallas.
That's great, Katie. Thanks so much for walking us through that. And I really appreciate the approach that you and your company take to um, work within the assets that you do have to address these issues of affordable and workforce housing. That's very commendable. And you mentioned public-private partnerships
Mhm.
in our last question. I want to come back to that topic for a second and just ask more pointedly, what role do public and private investments, I'm sorry, public and private partnerships, not investments, they can lead to investments, but we're talking about partnerships for a second.
Yeah,
What role do they play in Hunt Realty's approach to affordable housing development? I guess specifically with the projects that you just mentioned in the previous question.
no doubt. So, yes, for our reunion asset, the land that is held there, one thing that's important to kind of map out is one, it is extremely um, capital intensive to produce housing in general, let alone affordable housing at such densities at at scale. When I say 5,000 units, that's a lot of units, and you aim to provide, half of those to be affordable. That's an expensive project. So there has to be some form or fashion of public-private partnerships, not necessarily monetary value, but things that help to alleviate some of the cost burdens that would prohibit such a project from taking place, whether it be in, you know, fees that, we pay the city in order to get things done, or uh, expedited permit, just various things. I'm just mentioning, I'm not saying that we're taking them on, but just mention them to kind of emphasize the fact that we will need partnership with the city. I think the city would love to work with us on such a unique asset. But from a big picture, high level look of things, that section of downtown Dallas, the convention center being repositioned, and now we have our plans going through. I think it'd be a unique time for us to step in and buckle up with the city of Dallas on something and repositioning such a sleepy corner of the city of Dallas, and the economic drivers from the convention center and everything going on in that sector uh, could really come together to be a great, project for us in tandem with the city of Dallas.
That's great. Um, I love the examples that you shared about the role that public partners can play coming alongside of a company like Realty Investments. And
Mhm.
I'm reminded, I don't know who this quote is attributed to, but one of quote that I absolutely love is "Many hands make light work." And that's the first thing that came into my mind as I was
Mhm.
listening to you talk about the public-private partnerships and the role they play in your work. And it sounds like it can make less work or it can create some cost
Mhm.
efficiencies that wouldn't already be there.
Mhm.
Great.
Exactly.
Um, Going on to my next question, I'm wondering how does Hunt Realty Investments balance the objective of generating returns for investors with the social responsibility aspect of providing or developing affordable or workforce housing options?
That's a great question. And I'll start by saying, uh, first of all, or primarily, just as with any other development, affordable housing development needs to be financially feasible, uh, and we expect to do so as well. And we're without a doubt a for-profit organization that has to get a return of our capital and a return of the risk that we take on by pursuing the project. So, just like anything else, we have to use our creative guns uh, to structure deals and think of things in a way to where we can provide a public good, we can provide a solution to the problem, but at the same time providing our company and our organization with the best returns and seeking the best return on risk that we take on. So I would start by saying that just like any other investment, this is the same thing. While returns may not be on par with many Class A, high rise, multifamily building projections, they can be as lucrative in the long run based on, the stability of a sector such as affordable housing. It's always in need. There's little supply of it. So, on a monetary standpoint, you may have to tweak the numbers to make them align, but we think that overall it's a safe investment strategy that will yield return.
That that is so great to hear. And the words that stood out to me is that returns are possible. Like
Mhm.
it's they really do happen, and they happen because of when you look at the long term and there potentially always being a need for affordable and workforce housing.
Exactly. I think one highlighting that, that returns are possible, that they are lucrative, and they're advantageous to other investment strategies out there. I think that's not only good to let people know for their own whoever they're investing on behalf of, but also for the greater development community to know that it is possible. What that does is allows more players to enter into the space, provide more units, therefore. solving the issue that we're all, encumbered with and that we all take notice to. So that's a major part of, uh,
Yes, that's great. And I think no matter what field you're in, whether public or private, social responsibility or otherwise, return on investments is very important. So thank you for walking us through how it is possible and realizable.
no doubt.
Um, Switching gears a little bit, I wanted to move towards the topic of community engagement for a second. And we've heard a lot about how to engage local residents who either could benefit from a variety of housing options,
Hmm.
or maybe living in an area that could absorb a variety of housing options. And I'm wondering, how does Hunt Realty either prioritize or interweave community engagement in its affordable or workforce housing projects?
Yes, great question. So one, I will preface by stating that we don't, go out and hunt for affordable housing deals.
Mhm.
As I've mentioned and you mentioned as well, we have existing assets that we want to realize to be solutions to this issue, rather than going to pursue deals that may actually require community engagement once you're investing in said areas. Uh, as I mentioned before, Reunion is that asset that we've said this could be a solution to the greater issue at hand that we're speaking of. Um, and if you kind of look at it on the map, we don't really have many residential neighbors, or not saying that we don't have a community, because we have a commercial community. We have the city of Dallas as neighbors. We have a community of
Mhm. Yeah.
individuals. They just may not happen to be the same as if we were in a residential area where we would have to engage. I believe in a situation like that, we would have uh, a different answer to that question. But
Yeah.
being that we're in a commercial corridor, high density downtown Dallas, I would shift our community engagement focus to, uh, our procurement, our
Mhm. Mhm.
bidding out to contractors. I think there's always been a focus here at Hunt Realty to uh, award contracts to MWBE or historically disadvantaged groups, and increasing their economic base in whatever form or fashion we can. So I think we take community development, community engagement to that level, um,
Yeah.
especially for a project such as I just mentioned.
Yeah, I really appreciate that distinction, and it makes me realize that none of this work happens in a vacuum or is slowly the work of one entity, and
Mhm.
that it really does take, um, like you said, whether you're thinking in terms of key stakeholders or key institutional actors or community residents, there is a level of engagement that you have to do, depending on what that audience is, to ensure that you are really doing what you set out to do.
Hmm. Exactly.
Great. Well, as we wind down our conversation, I wanted to again switch gears and talk about Forward Dallas. Obviously, that's been at the forefront of a lot of people's minds that care about the issues that we talk about on our Housing for All webinars. And this is a question that a lot of our guests have been getting lately. So I'm curious to hear your perspectives.
Mhm.
But as Dallas is drafting its comprehensive land use update, which we know as Forward Dallas, are there any specific outcomes that you or Hunt Realty Investments are hoping to see in the final version?
Yeah, so great question. I would like to continue to see high levels of engagement and communication.
Mhm.
Uh, healthy conversations, I think, would allow for a lot of questions to be answered. I myself have a lot of questions, but the questions I have may be different from someone else's, and me just hearing their questions may help me to turn to something I have not yet seen in that plan. The plan is dense. Uh, it's a thick packet to work through and understand, and from a from a macro level, it's very understandable on a micro level and how it affects our day-to-day lives in positive ways and ways that it may, uh, you know, provide any ailments. This is something that we need to have conversations about and work through. So I think the draft that's upcoming, uh, as previous, would continue to provoke questions, give answers, and I myself will do my part by taking the time to study well and curate some of those questions myself, and I think we should all do the same.
That's great. Yes, yes. I love that. I think that just having these types of conversations and hearing a variety of perspectives are important to deepening everyone's knowledge.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, we're down to our final question. These half an hours go by so fast,
Yeah.
and I'm wondering. This is kind of our looking ahead question, if we will, or just getting a sense of the future and how you see it from your point of view. What trends do you see shaping the future of affordable housing,
Mhm.
and how do you feel Hunt Realty Investments is positioned to address these trends?
Yeah, so one, I will say I'm seeing affordable housing talked about more and more, and I don't know if that's because I'm studying it more and more, or a combination of that and the issues being magnified as they should be. But one, that is one trend I see, is that it will continue to be a topic of conversation for decades to come, as we grasp through generations in order to navigate the issues uh, that stand today. So one, I think the prominence and the issues will continue to present themselves in a manner that we will have to address them uniquely, and everybody should, is going to have to put on their thinking caps in order to break down and understand how they can help and play a part in that. Um, but also, I do see uh, in the DFW in Dallas, I see a lot of uh, firms and organizations and institutions seeing opportunity here, and while that's good, I believe that's great. I see a lot of outside uh, institutional movers coming and seeing the benefits of it, and I would encourage anybody who's in Dallas itself and operates here and does business here to, uh, you know, let's take ownership. Let's do it in our backyard. Let's figure out a way to solve our city's issues, and let's figure out a way to invest together in a problem that we see, and not wait to move and behind investors that aren't local, that aren't in our backyard. We can partner with them. We can do it together, but let's not just stand by and allow other people to solve um, what we know best, which is this city.
Great, great. Well, thank you for those last and important words about how bringing greater attention to issues like affordable housing really do matter and are important. It's not futile work because it gets everyone paying attention and thinking more intently about these issues and how to create more options for everyone long term.
Exactly. Well, I definitely appreciate the thought-provoking questions that you've asked. Like I said, I could go on and on about this all day. This is like my topic, and I'm uh, thankful and appreciative of the Dallas Housing Coalition and everything that you guys are doing in the community.
Well, thank you, Katie, for joining us today and what I'm sure is a very busy schedule as we finish up another week and sharing your unique perspectives on why the issue of affordable housing is important to you. And we wish you and Hunt Realty Investments much success throughout the rest of 2024.
Thank you so much.
Thank you again. Well, before we sign off today, I want to remind everyone to follow Dallas Housing Coalition on all of its socials for updates on how you can get involved in the work of the coalition and stay connected to our Housing for All webinar series. You can also visit our website at dallashousingcoalition.com to learn more about our member organizations and individual supporters, like the ones you hear weekly on our Housing for All webinar series. And if you aren't already, you can become a member at our website. And finally, if you're interested in showing your support for Dallas, Dallas Housing Coalition social media posts coming up in the next few days will provide a few suggestions for doing so. Thank you all for tuning in to another installment of our Housing for All webinar series, where we discuss whether Dallas is big and if it is truly big enough for everyone. Have a great Thursday and a wonderful week.